All right, so now that I have my cool little arpeggiated synced rhythm going on with my first track, I've used my third track to add some drums, and I'm going to just quickly go ahead and play the pattern as it is right now. On my second track, I quickly created a little bass sound that I like. Pretty simple, but I think I'd like to do, there's a couple things I wanted to do with this. I want to be able to record this and go from one octave to another. But another thing I'd like to do is be able to change the way the LFO is modulating the filter. Right now I have the LFO set to modulate the filter in a very subtle way with a multiplier of 32. If I change the multiplier to 64, I get that. So I want to go from one note with the multiplier of 32 to another note an octave higher with the multiplier of 64. Now this parameter can be P-locked, so what I'll do, I'm going to record this in real time first. Hold record, press play. So I see the second note recorded, the first note. There we go. Now, like I said, I want to make it so that the multiplier for my second note is going to be at time 64. So let's go ahead and double this. Nice. All right. Now, the next thing I want to do is I'd like to make it so that the pitch will slightly bend at the beginning of this note. So I want to slide from the pitch of the first note to the pitch of the second note. One way that I could do this is by using the note slide parameter, which is here. And I can access that by holding function and pressing this button. And now I'm in the note slide mode. When I'm in this mode, I can see there's half lit LEDs here to show me which notes have been entered into the step sequencer. And if I want the pitch of this note to slightly bend up from the pitch of this note, I simply place a trig right there. And now this note is going to slide up from the pitch of this very first note. Let's hear this. Without it. With it. Now, if I want to make that slide a little bit longer, the slide parameter is in the second page of oscillator 2. I can increase the slide time here. Like it a little bit more subtle, honestly. There we go. Nice. Now we have a few other things down here that we can utilize. Let me go to my drums really quickly. We have trig mute. If I hold function and I press this, all the drum trigs that I've entered are lit up with half lit LED. If I want to mute any of these, I can simply press that. So pretty straightforward there. Next to that, I have accent. So I can accent these notes. Let me hold function, press that. This can be helpful if you want to add a bit more stress or emphasis to a particular note. For instance, my kick on the 1 makes sense to have an accent there. Also, I'm going to accent both my snares. So that works pretty well. We checked out note slide. I'm going to go to a track that I haven't used to show off the parameter slide. Let me go ahead and get out of my grid record function. This track, I have not created a sound with this, although I did open up the release time. All right, so that's what we got here. Now I'm not going to do anything too fancy with this. I just want to sort of describe what the parameter slide can do. Now, if I record the sound to my sequence and I lock any parameters, if anything's a parameter locked, I can basically slide from those parameter states to the parameter state of the next note that's been entered into my sequence. Now, a very, I think, useful way to demonstrate this, I'm going to record a little rhythmic pattern here with track 4. And I'm going to mute these other tracks. And I'm going to start doing some parameter locks with a filter. All right, so now we have this going on, and we can hear that the filter is changing. It's been parameter locked to different steps, and it changes immediately. If I want this change to be more gradual, to slide between my different steps, even though these steps are happening pretty rapidly, it'll definitely give us a different sound. So I'll keep playing this, but I'm going to go into my parameter slide mode, function, parameter slide. And just like with the other options that we had here, the notes in the sequencer are half lit. If I want to tell one note to slide its lock parameters to that of the next trig, simply press the trigs that I want to have slide. And now we can hear the filter cutoff frequency, the overdrive, all that stuff. It's not jumping from step to step. It's actually sliding from some of the steps where I place this parameter slide. So let me get out of here. Quite nice. I'm going to go ahead and go into my LFO, and I want to add some panning to this sound so it moves from left to right. I'm not using my LFO for anything right now. This track was in its default state. If I go to the second page of the LFO, it's already set to modulate the volume and the panning. So I'm just going to go ahead and adjust the depth here. And let's see. Nice, okay. We add a little bit of chorus. Bring the volume down a bit. All right. Now, the last thing I want to point out before I move on, we also have the ability to implement swing in our sequence. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I have track 1 using an arpeggiated sequence that I created. The arpeggiator does not respond to the swing. Again, it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. So when I utilize the swing, you might notice that the sound on track 1 is not going to respond, but everything else I've entered manually into our sequencer, so it will. So let me play the beat again. Swing is right here. It's written in red. If I want to access it, I hold function and I press swing. 50% is the minimum value. I'll begin to increase this. Now you can really hear the effect with the drums. Let me go ahead and mute track 1, and I'm going to mute track 2 and 4, so we can focus just on the drums on track 3. Now, to really get an effect for how the swing is affecting our sequence, I'm going to start adding some more steps in between the kicks and snares. I'm going to add some hi-hats, and I'm going to do this so that every single step is occupied by a sound. Here's my hi-hat normal, so I can copy, paste, paste, paste. So now we can really hear the swing. Let me unmute track 4. If I go to track 4 and I reduce the release time for the amp envelope, you can really hear how that's responding to the swing. Now my bass note doesn't have a very complicated rhythmic pattern, so the swing's not going to affect it that much, but let me unmute track 1 with the arpeggiated sequence. And you hear how straight that sounds against everything else that's swinging. So just be aware of that. I kind of like the drums with the swing. We'll go ahead and reduce the swing.